Published February 12th, 2007, in the realm of Hungry Ghosts, Gaber Mate states, when what we call personality is often a jumble of genuine traits and adopted coping styles that do not reflect our true self at all, but instead the loss of it. How many times have you acted and then thought? I know that I have had many times in my life where I have gone through a situation and looked back and been like, who even was that acted like that? We've all experienced losing control of our actions based on our emotions. And we see this in the faces of people around us all the time, even if we might not be aware that that's what we're looking at. This is Adriana Scheid, and she values her own sleep strongly, as well as having researched how sleep works and how mental health can affect both focus and sleep.
This is Tisa Bays, and she's read multiple books on addiction, as well as researching anxiety and addiction disorders.
So, everyone has a path to travel down, and likely at some point or another, it feels like an uphill battle where you're losing control. I was diagnosed with anxiety at 13, and I started and continuing managing that throughout my whole life. Having anxiety made it harder for me to be comfortable expressing myself in front of others, and repressing those thoughts made me less myself, and it made succeeding more difficult. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, updated October of 2022, 19.1% of Americans over 18 have been diagnosed with anxiety, and 31.9% of adolescents have been affected by anxiety. An article titled Childhood Anxiety Disorders, updated in September 2021, states that teens who struggle with anxiety are more likely to perform poorly at school, and they will struggle building and maintaining close relationship with peers, family, and friends in their community. When struggling with anxiety, one might find that they are harder on themselves, and they tend to make mistakes feel like personal attacks. An individual may also find they're more obsessed with doing things perfectly as a side effect of anxiety. And we're just getting started. Those with anxiety are 2 to 3 times more likely to suffer from a substance abuse in their lifetime. In 2020, a study done by the National Center for Drug Abuse Statistics states that 50% of people 12 years of age and older have used illicit drugs in their lifetime. And 25% of those illicit drug users have a substance abuse disorder. The rise in drug use has also added to the overdose mortality rate. Between 2012 and 2015, there was an increase in synthetic opioid-related deaths of 264%. Struggling with mental health and abusing substances goes hand in hand because the environmental factors such as stress or trauma can generate changes that are passed down through generations and may contribute to the development of a mental disorder or a substance use disorder, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, reviewed in March of 2024.
Many people have focus and attention issues nowadays, and this isn't their fault. There's so many things trying to take our attention away nowadays, like screens, games, ads, and our phones. They're all trying to harvest our attention to make money. It makes sense why so many people can't focus on one thing at a time. There are so many things to give our attention to. Many people have been diagnosed with ADHD recently, and it's not possible to tell whether the increase in people who have ADHD is due to the change in number of people who have been diagnosed or the number of people who actually have it. But 6 in 10 children have ADHD nowadays, says the Data and Statistics on ADHD from CDC website that was published in November 19th of this year. There's so many elements that go into having a good night's sleep. There are 2 main parts to your cycle, and the first part is your non-rapid eye movement stage, which is where you have your lightest, your light sleep, and your deep sleep. This is, you have your different levels. And then the second part is where you have your REM sleep, which is called the rapid eye movement. REM is the short name for it. And this is where you dream and your eyes dart back and forth rapidly, as the name suggests. The National Sleep Foundation published an article called "What is REM Sleep?" on September 5th of this year. And they say that REM sleep is important because it helps us process new information and it ensures better mental concentration and mood regulation. Two things that are critical to daily work performance and the quality of life. The negative effects of missing out on REM sleep are big. Your overall health and brain function and cellular repair can suffer. Many people miss out on these benefits by waking up in the middle of their cycles, which is the most disruptive. It leads you to wake up feeling tired and not rested.
So, with all these obstacles stacked against you, it feels like a battle you just can't win. When you feel anxious and out of control, you look for substances to help you avoid feeling negative emotions. Research has shown us how easy it can be to abuse substances. When you abuse these substances or have added stress in your life and are engaging in unhealthy coping mechanisms, that will affect your sleep. When you're receiving inadequate sleep, you will have a harder time focusing. In doing our research, we noticed that the common answer is caffeine. It's everywhere. It's advertised as a healthy solution, an alternative to illicit substances, or a treat for good behavior. According to Daniel Schrager, a journalism reporter for the Bellingham Herald, updated in July of this year, Washington has 57.3 coffee shops per 100,000 residents. That's over twice as many as the national average. We found that the effects of caffeine can often do the opposite of advertised and can often contribute to problems such as poor sleep, lack of attention, and anxiety. According to the National Library of Medicine article, Evaluating Dependence Criteria for Caffeine, published in December of 2011, caffeine withdrawals can occur as low as 100 milligrams a day. For reference, a quick Google search tells us that Monster energy drinks have 80 milligrams of caffeine per 8 ounces, a Red Bull has 75 per 8 ounces, and black coffee can range even more from 70 to 140 milligrams per 8 ounces. And that's why it's important to limit your daily intake of caffeine and try to find other ways of managing anxiety without the use of substances. So, to get to a place where we aren't worrying about added anxiety, substance reliance, and are receiving the sleep that we need in order to allow ourselves to focus, we need to start limiting the unregulated caffeine that we expose ourselves to. Then we'll find ourselves without withdrawal symptoms in the morning, leaving you feeling rested, focused, and relaxed. But what about having a cup of coffee when I'm out? How can I get that same sense of community?
Well, there are many other things you can do in community, like you can take a walk with a friend, or you could go to lunch together, or find another treat you love. My friends and I like to go to Pure Bliss, we get our little treat and hang out and chat.
And what about the benefits that caffeine can have, like headaches or managing ADHD symptoms?
Well, this is true. It only helps in like smaller amounts, because otherwise it can actually cause these things and make them worse. So caffeine is in a lot of things, but there's hope. The benefits of having less caffeine is your anxiety could get better, you could get better sleep and actually feel better rested. You won't be as reliant on caffeine for focus, and you won't be as controlled by it. So caffeine is a drug. It alters sleep, increases anxiety. The more you take it, the more you'll need. This is because your body adapts to it and it's harder to get what you need from it. So cap yourself at 2 or less a day. You can still have your coffee and get the benefits without it making life worse. Limit to 400 milligrams per day, which is that 2 cups, and drink in smaller amounts up to 2 p.m. You could do this by putting your Starbucks in a thermos to keep it warmer for longer, and then drink in small amounts over the course of an hour instead of in 5 minutes. You could take a power nap, because this tired feeling that you have could just be your body's way of telling you that you need to slow down and rest. You could try taking a cold shower. That would certainly wake you up. Or if you don't have access to those things, you can always go out and exercise for like 10 minutes. Break the chains that caffeine is keeping you hostage.
Take control back from coffee. Don't let coffee control you.
Thank you.